Hey guys, welcome back to We Met at Acme. I'm so excited to be here with an incredible private investigator, Mackenzie, and a comedian, writer, Hanna. They host the podcast, The Dating Detectives, and we're gonna get into it today, everyone. Welcome.
Thank
Hi.
you.
We're doing a little mix of virtual and in person today, so bear with us if there's any sort of delays, but we are so excited. We have so many questions that came in for Mackenzie, and I know Hanna will hopefully weigh in on all of them. Before we get into it, we'll start with Mackenzie here. What is your favorite romantic gesture?
Oh God. I think I know flowers die, but I think it's nice. I think it's a really nice thought because I just think it's so nice. My husband
I
does it
love that.
often and I just think it's very simple and it's very like I thought of you, but I also didn't know what to get you, but I really at least I thought of it.
Totally.
And
I
it's
mean, it's
pretty.
even better when you don't have to ask for them, but I'm not gonna lie, my
Yes.
husband my husband needs the reminder. I'm like, "So my birthday's on Saturday and our anniversary is on but
Any kind of gift really, but flowers you can't go wrong because they're pretty, even though they die, which sucks, but it's fine.
it's so true. I agree. What about you, Hannah?
My immediate thought was like, I love Reese's. They're my favorite. And my
Mhm.
boyfriend often, like flowers, yes, we love flowers, but like we'll randomly show up with Reese's.
Oh,
That's
snacks. Why
amazing.
did I think of
Whether
snacks?
snacks, yeah.
Mhm.
And it's nice because it's bad day, but also sometimes it's just like, I was thinking of you. Like, he knows. And
Ugh,
I
That's
mean, it's
sweet.
not great for my health, but it's good for my
no,
relationship.
it totally is. I am now deeply craving a Reese's. Like, you can't even
Thank
hear
you,
the word
Hannah.
and
Me
not
too.
start craving it.
John, what he's
He's got a
red
bust
flag
in
is
here
not
with
here with us.
Reese's for all of us. I love it. So I guess we'll just get right into the PI stuff because I can't even explain to you how many questions came in that I had to like group them into the most important ones because there were just so many. And I know we had so much
I'm
fun
so
on the Dating
excited.
Detectives
Yeah.
talking about a specific PI story that Mackenzie had shared with us. And that story was insane. So if you haven't listened to that, you got to check out the Dating Detectives. The stories are amazing. But I guess this is more of like an off the record moment because we're sitting down and we want to hear the people want to hear the kind of behind the scenes for you, Mackenzie. So I'll start with the most common question that came up. And I can understand why people are asking this because I'm not going to lie, I've dated cheaters in my day. And most people wanted to know the warning signs of a cheater.
Oh,
I only laugh because it's
wow.
like, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
Hmm.
Well, it's a good question, but okay. So when you think of warning signs, right? The first thing that comes to mind is red flags. So anything that first of all, if it's too good to be true, it always is. But this is coming from someone who's a skeptic because I'm all like I only see the bad, like you know what I mean. So this is coming from someone who doesn't like trust a lot of people. So whenever it comes to cheating, warning signs are like hiding the phone, obviously, kind of hiding the
Mm.
email. If they have a secondary phone, maybe, or credit
Ooh.
cards that, credit card bills that come in, you're not familiar, or they insist on having separate accounts, or they insist on their privacy, like, oh, I deserve my privacy too. Or they turn their location off. If you're someone who shares locations and they turn it off occasionally, that's kind of weird. Just things that stand out that I think a lot of people in general, as we've learned from some experts we've had on our show about lying, generally speaking, people are not liars, but I do think that when it comes to cheating, there are red flags that you can be aware of. But I think it's hard. There's a fine line because sometimes we can over analyze situations like I do. So I can find a cheater in every situation. It might not be true, but I definitely, you have to follow your gut instinct. But there's so many things that if it's just something weird, you should just follow that gut.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I think like almost immediately, if there's any weird reaction to their phone,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, like
that's a
if you're like if you're trying to go through their phone, that's a sign in itself that that relationship is over. The trust is gone because you
Oh,
wouldn't want to go through someone's
yeah.
phone if you trusted them.
I
You wouldn't
will
need to.
I agree, and I agreed until our latest episode came out.
Mm.
So the way our show works is we have a PI, which is iconic, and survivors come on and tell us stories of the betrayal they've been through, often cheating. And the phone thing comes up all the time. Last week, the episode, the guy was like, here's my password. You can go through this anytime. I know that cheating is something that we're all worried about, and I want you to have that transparency. He was, spoiler, he was still married to his wife and
Well,
had
I
a
was gonna
secret
say,
apartment.
Totally
by the
called her
way-
bluff. He totally
By the
called
way,
her bluff.
that saying that is so sus. You know what I mean? That's like when a guy's like, don't worry, I will never hurt you. A
Yes.
guy that's going to hurt you is going to tell you that.
Yeah,
A
of
guy that
course.
won't hurt
It's like,
you
why are you thinking about
will
that?
never say it. Exactly. So
Yeah.
that person was like, if someone said that to me and was like, here's my phone password and a key to my house and this, and I'd be like, this is sketchy as fuck.
Yeah, it's two ends, because people that do this, as there's patterns that have come up on this show, and it's like sad because Mackenzie has seen it all. I came in like, love is a rom-com every day, and it's like, maybe not. But
Mhm.
the phone thing, the people that do this are just so good at what they're doing, unfortunately.
Right.
So they do know what we're looking for sometimes. So that's
Yeah.
where intuition comes in.
No, it's true. And Mackenzie, I have a question for you. Do you think that, so obviously we talked about the phone thing, but what about deleting conversations? And I'm trying to look in this camera because I think that's where we're supposed to look. But what about deleting conversations? Like I have a friend whose husband, and these people are completely remaining anon because I don't even know if they know that I know this, but he is like a chronic deleter of things. And some people just, it's almost like an OCD sometimes for people. Like they need their inbox to be zero, or they
I've
need
heard like
to have
clearing
no
storage.
clearing storage, or they need to have no messages or like whatever. But I feel like when you go into the territory of deleting DMs and things, it's like that doesn't affect your storage as far as I know. I mean, if you work at Apple, let us know. But I don't think, I mean, what about deleters?
I feel like I think that is the rule, not the exception. So like, I feel like if people are deleting stuff, it's because they don't want someone to see it. What do you have that you don't want someone to see? Do you know what I mean? Like, and this is, I guess I just feel like the delete, and it's never really deleted, you guys. Nothing is ever gone. Okay. But when you're deleting things, so I would imagine someone who's like, oh, I just delete everything all the time. They're setting themselves up so that if something does get deleted and they say, why'd you delete that? They could say, well, I delete everything. You know that. And so it's almost like sus that they're deleting everything. And then it's like, so you're just setting the tone. So when you do want to delete stuff, but if they're deleting stuff, they just delete like one conversation with one person. That's like obvious. Like, I want to know what you said now, you know?
Or have you ever heard anyone like, I mean, whether or not you agree with going through phones, there's a lot of opinions about it, but I've heard of people like going through phones and seeing a conversation that just doesn't make sense, where it's like, hey, how's your day?
Some of the messages are deleted.
Like, is so obviously something is deleted in the middle. Yeah.
I would, oh my God. That's so interesting. I never even thought about that because you could delete on your end now, right?
You can delete both sides. Yeah. So
Wow.
you can make it look like.
I don't understand. What's up with like Apple? What's up with Instagram, you know, at giving this technology to allow these things so easily, right? What's another reason that those functions would exist?
To delete message. Yeah. Why else would you need to delete a message if you said something? I guess if you gossip and don't want somebody to see it,
I mean, it's nice that they're protecting us from gossip. But other than that, you know,
for general privacy, because in general, everyone has the right to privacy, right? But if you're like adamant about your privacy, that's a red flag to me. Like, you know, I mean, some people are just super private and I get that. And other people are like, I just can't stand all these messages. It's overwhelming. I get anxiety myself. So I understand like deleting stuff because it's like, oh my God, I have too many pictures. Which one do I not need? You know what I mean? So I get it. And with the messages, I get it too. It's something like that. But I don't know. It's sus to me.
What do you think about a privacy screen? You know, like that, that thing
so
you can
can't
buy.
See it over someone's shoulder?
Yeah, exactly.
I have one and I love my privacy screen. I feel like
but you need to have one.
Well, I don't necessarily need to have one, but I don't know. Like did you, I don't know if you guys saw the story that we posted. Do you know Brian with a Y? He was on a plane and he was sitting next to a woman who watched him re-download Tinder from his phone and all these other like dating apps. And then he was talking to them, but then she also saw him texting his wife and saying, I love you, baby, and give the kids kiss for me or whatever. And he's on Tinder and she's watching him. And I just feel like he should have had a privacy screen because she went and made a
Oh.
TikTok, found the wife, called him out, and like everybody found this guy. She described him to a science. And so he got called out, right? But I feel like I'm someone
If you're
who
gonna
has a
cheat, get a
privacy
privacy
screen because,
screen. No.
well,
Yeah.
I'm also someone who has intimate conversations with my husband, and I want to be able to do that on a
Right.
plane, and you know what I mean. So it's not
Yeah.
always necessarily bad, but also I have one because when I
Yeah.
do surveillance and it's dark, you can see my phone really well lit in the car, so it kind of helps to keep it darker. But
Yeah.
other than that, like I like the privacy screens because I feel like in public anybody can just look over your shoulder and see what you're doing, and I personally don't like that.
I know what you mean, but I will say, other than my mother-in-law, who I think like doesn't know why she has a privacy screen, like she was like probably upsold it like
Yes.
at the store. But I don't know anyone other than my mother-in-law and now you, Mackenzie, who like I trust that has a privacy screen. Like
Really? That's so interesting.
I've never even thought about
every
getting
time
one.
someone has it, I'm like, that makes sense.
Oh,
know?
you're like
Mhm.
that. You
I
wouldn't
think
trust them
everyone
anyway.
should have
Mhm.
one. I think everyone should
I'm
have a
thinking about when I
privacy.
like need to do tip math in a
No,
restaurant
I
and I'm
think it's
embarrassed. I don't want
true.
people to
I
see
think
me doing the
That's
math.
true
I
too. And you get
agree.
on your bank account and like if you're standing in line and you're trying to be like, oh, do I need to transfer
Right.
money? And then there's people in line with you. Like, I don't, it's just weird. But I'm
I
also
know.
someone who understands the value of privacy because I know how easy it is to get information. I know I'm someone who will
Mm.
look over your shoulder and watch you type in your password. Now I have your password for your phone. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many
No,
things that I
I
want to
think you're
privacy.
absolutely right. I think we need to change the stigma around privacy screens. I want to get one. I also think like sometimes I'll be in a photo and my phone will be in that photo and you can zoom in and see my text conversation that I'm having.
Yes,
Do
yes,
you know what
yes,
I'm
yes.
saying?
Wow,
That
yeah.
too. Mhm.
Which is just like not fun.
You should do branded privacy screens.
Ooh.
I guess that's dumb because
well,
why would you want
that's what
branding on
you
the
should
privacy
do.
screen?
That's what you should
Maybe.
do. That's a good idea. I
Maybe.
love that. Okay, what is the most common thing that people are hiding if not affairs?
The most common things that people are hiding, if not affairs. Well, I do a
I
lot
feel
of
like
insurance fraud too, but are you talking about more like private clients? Like, what are they trying to find? Like, what
yeah,
are
like
people
what are
hiding?
private clients trying to hide? I feel like it's like a gambling addiction or just something with money.
Something with money.
I was about to say it's financial, but it's also drugs and alcohol. I just recently talked about
Mm.
an alcoholic that was, going to the bar when he was telling his wife he was going to Alcoholics Anonymous. And so stuff like that. But it's usually the things that people are hiding the most are, besides affairs, is the fact that they are either homosexual or in some kind of alternative type of relationship or have alternative preferences. So it's preferences, drugs, alcohol, financial, and gambling. So yeah, I would say those are, or if they like if they're addicted to like strip clubs, not necessarily like sex, but they just love to go to strip clubs. They're hiding that a lot. I guess that's it.
I
Like
love that
outside of
Mackenzie's gone to
affairs, those are
multiple
the.
strip clubs for her job.
So
You
You've like
what?
done a lot of surveillance. You've done a lot of
Oh
surveillance
yeah,
where you've had to just go to a strip club.
I've gotten lap
My
dances for
favorite.
work. Absolutely, yes.
that's
It's a
incredible.
write-off.
I'm jealous, honestly.
It's a write off. Yes,
I
for
guess
sure.
we're
It's a write off.
I guess we're starting out with the hard hitters because this one came up too, and I'm so curious. What is the hardest news that you had to deliver to someone who hired you?
Oh man. Oh boy, the hardest. It's always when they're having affairs with multiple people because then you have to share the news not only with the person who hired you, but most of the time it ends up coming out that you're sharing it with more of them and then now you're talking to the wife who wants you to talk to her husband and then she forces him to like confront the other women and then you have to like share what you found and now you're hurting like all these people with the information and it's a whole big thing.
Oof.
So I think it's the multiple affair thing. Is kind of a big thing, but also I think people that have like alternate families, like people that are like, men that have other kids with other people and then that gets revealed and that must sting a lot. Like that's really hard
Yeah.
to reveal. And just to see the emotions come out in these people and they try to keep it really cool like, oh, okay, but inside they're like dying and then later on the more they process the more they're hurt by it and it sucks to deliver that kind of news to
Yeah.
someone.
It sucks, but you said something when we recorded on Dating Detectives that stuck with me, which is that you don't hire a private investigator unless you're pretty sure. Like
Mhm.
you're sure when you hire a private investigator who is expensive. And I think we talked about the cost, but will you remind us the cost?
Yeah, so you're looking at anywhere between $100 to $200 an hour just for surveillance. That's just for someone to sit and watch this person. And so you have to be really strategic with when you go, where you go, when you're going to set this up. You have to come up with a plan. Like you have to be really strategic because people don't have money just to throw around all willy-nilly just to sit there for 24, 48 hours and see what someone does. So you need to be pretty sure that there's something that's going to happen during this time or else you're just throwing your money away. So I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like that it is a little bit expensive, but it's for people that hire me. Usually they either really know or they are really insecure and they have dug so deep because they think they're going to find something that they actually do find something that turns out to be nothing. And so it's
Mm.
either, yeah, they already know or they are really insecure for whatever reason.
Well, it's also such an interesting and funny job because every woman thinks that they're a private investigator. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
Yes.
especially with
And they usually
the
are.
technology.
We
Yeah,
call it
with
armchair
with
sleuths.
everything we have
Yes.
today. Like, I remember when I went to college, I was still dating my high school boyfriend. And like obviously he was cheating, like I barely had to do a real investigation, but I still did. I did an investigation, I was on Facebook was I'm aging myself, but Facebook was the thing at the time. And so I went on his Facebook and I noticed that he was next to a girl a lot in photos, like in group photos. I messaged someone that I kind of knew who went to his school. It was a small school, and I was like, has, so and so been hanging out with this girl? Like I did my version of a private investigation, and unfortunately I ended up, finding out the truth, but it took me a long time to get there. I'm so curious, like, do has anyone in college ever hired you?
Oh yeah. Like you mean
I
college,
haven't
like
heard.
college kids hiring me to find out
Yes,
about their.
because it's really hard to keep tabs on your boyfriend in college or your girlfriend.
Yeah, I want to hear
Yes.
this because I haven't heard any
Okay,
college
so
stories.
think of a lot of my experience with college kids hiring me is they come from wealthy families, so they say, "Daddy, I want to hire a PI," and usually it's the parents. They go to the parents, and the parents are like, "Okay, I want you to do this for my daughter or my son or whatever." So they come to me with their money, and they're like, "I want to know what this guy's doing, and is he really going to this frat party?" And he is going to this frat party. He's always hooking up with other girls. I've gone to frat parties. I've done the keg stands as a full grown college graduate. Like I have no business at a frat party. I've done it.
That
Amazing.
I
makes
like
everyone want to be a PI.
listen, I've been a PI for like almost 20 years. Like this is like I've done it all. But yeah, they do. And but these what's interesting with the college kids is that these are not a lot of the times I think it's the parents like, is this someone who's like, is this Warner for you? Is this are you the Elwoods? And they're like, let's see if this guy's good enough for you. Is he going to be, worth your time? So I think a lot of it is the parents, but yeah, it's finding out like, is this person going to be good for you as you go forward?
That's so funny because if my kid came to me and they were like, Mom, like, I don't trust my partner, will you get a PI to see what they're
No,
doing
break
at
up
the
with
frat?
him.
Be like, let's save
I'd
some
be like,
money and dump him.
hell fucking no,
No,
bro.
break up with
Or
him.
daughter. Like, why are you dating this guy that you are worried about him doing stuff at the frats? First of all, you're in
Yes.
college, so get out of this relationship. You're a child.
Yeah.
And second of all, like we don't need money to prove that people are doing bad shit in college. Like everyone
We
is.
know. Yeah.
But a
It's a
lot of
pretty
the
easy
college kids also, yeah, a lot of the college kids also, they already know how to find that stuff. Like they're really tech savvy with the Google machine and all that. So they
Totally.
they
Have
know how to
any
find stuff, but
Well, nothing gets past people now with
No.
again with technology. Like I can't
yeah.
explain to you what I had to do for my sleuthing. Is that a word?
Yeah. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
For
In
my
fact,
sleuthing.
say sleuthing because
Yeah.
Instagram stalking is maybe the
We don't say
typical
stalking.
phrase.
Right,
But
right.
Mackenzie says we're not allowed to.
No,
say
and Instagram didn't exist when I was sleuthing. I'll tell you what I used to do. I had a boyfriend who went abroad, like when we were in college, and there was like back in the day, I don't know if this is still a thing, but when you would go to clubs, there was a club photographer.
Oh, I've done this.
Yes, and the club photographer would post pictures on the club's Facebook of like what that Monday night was like or whatever. And so I would go into the club to the club's Facebook page, go through all the photos and look for the boyfriend at the time in the background.
Totally.
Like I knew what kind of clothes he had.
Well, today it's like Instagram locations. You can like go to the map on Instagram and see the story from the restaurant.
Right,
I
exactly.
feel like you can still kind of do that.
Totally.
Snapchat,
No.
maybe.
Snapchat.
Yeah, the
people-
story from the restaurant is good, but like usually it's just food. But every
true.
now and then there's a vibe shot, and I'm like, there he is.
Pause. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, we're all
Snapchat does it too.
sleuths. Yeah. I'm
Crazy.
like, if there's anyone listening that's like younger than 14, tell us like the new way to
Right,
sleuth.
exactly.
Right.
Because you
It's probably Snapchat related. How common would you say it is, Mackenzie, for men specifically to have a secret life?
Oh, well, okay. So real talk, most of the time, more times than not, it's usually a woman who is having some kind of secret life or secret affair or secret whatever. So if I like 50-50, it's usually like, I would say 70% women, 30% men who's actually cheating on the cases that I get.
That's so crazy because if I were to have a secret family with someone else, I would have had to have a very obvious pregnancy.
Yeah.
So do you mean second family as in just like another man that thinks they're your husband, but like, and their kids?
So I'm thinking of a
Just an
couple of
affair.
cases where they each have their own kids, but like she is literally raising this man's children as her own, even though she has her own. And so like from a previous marriage or whatever, but it's most of the time the women are cheating more than the men, but also I feel like more women hire me because they're insecure rather than knowing for sure something's going on. Men are usually like, listen, I just need to know for sure. Like they already know most of the time. But so I do feel like a lot of it is women. It's the women that are lying in some of their dog fishing.
Which is so interesting because the people that come on to the podcast that share stories of cheating are
mostly women.
Not only women. We've had one man come on and he was gay, which was so sad. Oh my gosh. He was the sweetest. And this guy just like financially destroyed him. But it's beyond the point. But men won't talk about it. Like they do not want to share.
That makes sense. They have too much pride.
Yeah.
But the way that I've always thought about it, and I wonder both of your takes on this and if you agree, is men are dogs and women are cats. And so men will get caught so many times so that the statistics are that men are the cheaters and women will not.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I don't think women get caught as
so
much.
So this cheating statistics are basically like, oh, it's all men and all men cheat and blah blah blah. And it's like, no, all men are really bad at covering their tracks.
Yeah.
Like they just leave their paws everywhere.
Women don't have to go
and
to the
women
the PI
exactly
as much because
women
they
are
know.
so good at it. Like if a woman is gonna cheat, you better believe you will never know, and maybe you will, right, eventually.
If
But
you hire Mackenzie,
but like for a while, I just think we're better at it, and that doesn't mean I think that we should do it.
No.
Obviously, I'm very anti. I'm just saying that women are just better.
and historically, I'm this is not an original thought. I think it's Esther Perel talks about it, but like women historically had more to lose because so much of our finances and our identity was tied to our marriage. So if you were going to cheat, like you were gonna have a high stakes cheating situation. You're only doing it if it absolutely has to happen, whereas men could like do it pretty casually and not lose their whole life.
Such a good
Not
call.
necessarily saying that it's still that way, but just historically, yeah, it's like we had to be a little sneakier
That's
about
so
it.
true. And now there's a lot of income households where the woman is making more, and potentially maybe that's even leading to more cheating on the
Whoa, I
woman's
wonder if
end.
there's like an income to cheating to
Yes.
narcissism connection.
Someone's made it.
Study it.
Someone has definitely done it. There's definitely like a Venn diagram that we could find. We'll find it.
If you've cheated, tell us your income and your gender. There's no way anyone would
Well,
come
there's
forward.
a
Never know.
lot of women that I do surveillance on that are stay-at-home moms, and oftentimes whenever I find them cheating, they say, "Oh, I'm bored. You're always working. You're never home." So I feel like the narrative is also like, not only does she have a
Interesting.
lot to lose because like he's literally paying for her whole life, but now they're saying, "I'm bored. You're never home. You're working too much." And so it's like, what do you do now? Like now it's like like screw the finances. Like I'm bored, and a lot of
Yeah.
times that's what they say is I'm bored.
That is so crazy because being a stay-at-home mom is the hardest job in the world. How are you bored?
I feel like
How
that's
are
the
you
TV show
possibly
narrative. Like any
bored? I
affair
mean,
TV
maybe the
show is
kids are
like,
in school. Maybe if it's
he
the
doesn't see her anymore. It's
right,
like
right,
always the
right.
story in
Mhm.
the books, but I don't know
Mhm.
how.
No, I just like cannot imagine being bored. There's always something to do when you're a stay-at-home mom. It's a really hard job, but maybe the kids are at school and like for all the day. I don't
The
know.
empty nesters who
Mhm,
want to feel
mhm.
something again.
Totally.
No, that's the rom-com.
Okay, this is I really want both of you to weigh in on this because I have a strong opinion on this. Do you think ignorance is bliss or knowledge is power?
Oh,
Mackenzie,
that's a
go for it.
really good question. Okay, so this is totally a personality thing, right? So there are people that I know, there are men that I have been with that are just like, if they don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. Like they're just like, it's fine. It's fine. There's, but also if you're someone like me, knowledge is power. Like I am not someone who can just like not know something. Like I have to know all the things all the times. And if I'm snooping through someone's phone, it's not because I'm trying to see if they're hurting me. It's because I'm curious. I want to know what you're doing. I want to know when you're picking your boogers. Like I just think it's fun to know, like, oh, what did you and your mom talk about? Oh, what did you know what I mean? Like you and your best friend could be talking about farts, and I'd be like, these guys are idiots. Like it doesn't matter what it is. To me, I want to know all the things, but I do know people that are like, I just don't want to know. I'm not interested. No, I want to know all the things. So I think that's kind of like it's a personality thing. Hannah, what's your stance?
It's an annoying answer, but it depends. I think, like, in a big betrayal case, I would not want to live with a partner that's cheating on me or doing something crazy, deceptive. Like, no, I would absolutely want to know. From my personal experience, going back to our talk about being PIs on our own and social media and stuff, I used to be a knowledge is power person, and I would start relationships almost in a flirty way, kind of being like, have you ever had a threesome? Like talking about like those kinds of funny, like past things in a way that was like, this is harmless. Like it's just fun to be like, oh, who's like the worst ex you've ever had, blah, blah, blah. And then if the relationship got further, I realized, oh, I know more than I actually want to know. And now I know that they hooked up with this friend that's still in their life that is not somebody I need to worry about. But
Mm.
I like wish I hadn't asked so many questions at first. I wish I hadn't sleuthed on their Instagram as much. And now I am trying to be not an ignorant person, but a need to know person.
I think that's
And I
fair.
feel like I trust my partner. And I've said this, and I'm like, if like we go to a party and there's somebody there that you hooked up with, I like tell me if I need to know kind of thing.
Mhm,
But I don't need
mhm.
to know every single thing about your life or your past because it was not good for my mental health. Like I would just compare myself to people that if I didn't know about it, I never would have thought about it. But obviously in cases where it's like they're still sleeping with that person and you don't know
No,
it,
of course.
then that
Of
changes the
course.
answer.
Yeah,
But
no, I think that
also,
yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, I feel like I'm a little bit of a masochist in that way because I would
Yeah,
rather
doesn't it hurt sometimes? You
I
find
would rather be
something.
hurt and know everything than let my overthinking mind wander and wonder if something happened that didn't happen, then I'm worrying for no
That's a good
reason. Or
point.
so I'd rather just know everything and be hurt with that and like cope with that than spend the rest of my life wondering, because I will not sleep until I know exactly what happened.
I'm with
Uh,
you, Mackenzie. I think knowledge is power. Unfortunately, I wish that I found some bliss in like not knowing
It's
anything.
hard.
That
no,
doesn't
there's no
mean
bliss.
that that doesn't mean that my partner's going to give it to me. Like if I was like like name everyone you've had sex with, he'd be like, "No,
No.
like get a life." But I
But if
still
you
want to
could know,
know.
would
If
you
I could
know?
know, I would know every
I was always
detail
that way.
of
I'm
his
trying
life.
so hard, guys.
But that's because I think specifically with him, not in past relationships, but I trust him to death. And so I'm like, give me all the details because first of all, like maybe it's hot, you know? But
Yeah.
second of all, I just am so curious. I want to
Yeah.
know everything about him, you know?
I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
And the dog
love it.
agrees. The dog
It's
agrees.
true. It's
Mm-hmm.
tough.
And what about spying on exes? Is this a common thing? Like, or just and
So
are
common because
but at
nobody's
this
over it.
point, right? But then aren't you like, what's the point? Save your money. They're your
There's a
ex.
lot of cases. There's a lot of cases I won't take. Like they're like, I need to look at my ex. I need to know what they're doing, and I do a full blown interrogation. And if you can get through my questions and you don't get up and walk out like this girl's crazy, I don't need to answer all these questions for her. If you get through that, then perhaps I will take your case. But most of the time, by the time I'm done answering my question, asking my questions, they're like, okay, we're done. Like because I don't want to just I don't want to be responsible for someone breaking your heart and then you want to use me to get back at them somehow. I'm not having it. That's too much liability. I'm not about that life.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
are crazy.
It's
If
true.
I don't feel like it's a valid response, which is like if it's my business and it's my surveillance and I need to testify to this in a court of law one day and
Right.
there's, anticipation of litigation somewhere down the line and I have to I have to acknowledge why I took this case and, like kind of, I don't want to discredit myself by saying, oh, I don't know. I was curious too. Like, you know what I mean? I want to do the right thing.
Yeah, no, I
always.
think that's so fair. And like, I love that you asked those questions. What is one thing that you would never do as an average citizen after being a PI?
Like what kind
That's
of
a good
jobs?
question.
Oh, after learning what I've learned from being a PI?
Yeah, exactly. Like you'd never, I wish I could think of a good example.
I can think of some. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I've heard a lot. Y'all, if you want more PI stories, Mackenzie's like full of them. But you've seen people do the weirdest stuff in public, and that they like when they don't know they're being watched.
Right.
Like I don't
Like,
like the
It's
weird stuff that you don't think people
amazing.
are seeing.
It's amazing what people do when they don't think anyone is watching. And I'm talking picking your nose, snorting coke, doing drug deals, prostituting themselves. Like there's all kinds of crazy illegal activities and silly activities. And I've had to call the cops because I've seen people beating their children like in a bad way, not even in a
oof.
like take off my flip flop kind of way, but like in a bad way. And there are some things that I have just like that I've seen that I just know at this point in my life, I will never not think ever again that someone is watching me. I will always have it in my mind that someone is watching me. But I don't think that's a bad thing. Like maybe it's no one could watch me at all like no one has any, reason to do surveillance on me. But if they did, I always have that in my mind. Live your life as if someone is always watching you and you
Like,
will
do you
always
pick
do
a
the right
wedgie if
thing.
you have to,
I was
or
just
can you
gonna
just
say.
not
because
do it because of what you've
you
seen?
gotta do what you gotta do. Like get me my wedgie. That don't embarrass me. But honestly, like if you sometimes like how sometimes you like leave something in your cart. Like one time I left a Lunchable in my Walmart cart and I didn't do the scanner, the self checkout thing, and I left it in the cart and I walked out of the store and my husband was like, "Ooh, you stole that Lunchable," and I was like, "Oh my god!" I ran back in. I was like, "I stole this. I have to pay for it." Like because I was not gonna walk out of that store and someone else catch me and they'd be like, "She's a thief." Like nope. It was a Lunchable, y'all. And I went back in and paid for it because I was not about to have it. Just
Honestly,
in case someone was watching me.
I would probably do that too, but I can't just commit to stopping picking my nose. Like if there's a
But
booger
you're owning
and
it.
yeah, like I'm
Association,
gonna have
I think.
to, yeah, if you're gonna spy on me, you're gonna see me picking my nose. Like that's
Legit.
just
You got to get
Singing
it.
in
You
my
can't.
car.
and if you gave a detailed report to my husband and you were like, yeah, she picked her nose 6 times today, he'd be like, yeah, that sounds right.
Well,
That
yeah. Are
tracks.
there when she gives the reports, you have to observe and report like very objectively. But I feel like
Yeah.
wasn't there somebody that you were like watching them for insurance fraud and they like pooped in a bush, right? Like, didn't you like you've seen
Yes.
people where you're like in
So
court
many-
having to be like, and they appeared to
defecate in bushes. But it's true. Like it really does happen. People have so much sex in public. People do so much defecating and urinating in public. People do so much nose picking and wedgie picking. And people do so many things in public that you're just like, what are you doing? And a lot of times they'll like look over their shoulder, like that secret, like look behind them kind of thing. Like you would imagine someone's like looking over their shoulder and then they just do it. And you're like, what were you looking at? Because I'm right here. Like what, like, do you just think I'm
Yeah.
not? Like, you know what I mean? So I will never assume that someone is not watching me at any time for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. Okay, this one is good, and we're starting to get to the end. So I love the idea of starting to ask some more positive questions here. How to know that someone is not cheating?
Oh, can you ever really know that?
I mean,
Because if they're not cheating, or are they just really good at hiding it? That's me being a skeptic, though, being a PI, that I never trust anything or anyone. So for me, it's like, my husband is the best man on the face of the planet, but because he's so good to me, I'm like, for sure he's got a side piece. I have no proof of it, but I'm sure, because he's so good to me, and I'm like, there's no way that this man, but like, good for him if he does, because he treats me like a queen. So like, good on him, I guess.
That
How
I
would you
go ahead.
know?
I think just
Yeah.
like they're very forthcoming about stuff. Like they, I think it goes back to my dating rules. Like they have to be more into you than you're into them.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, so we both, Lindsay and I, went to the same college, and I've like I've fangirled about you before we recorded. But yes, I've followed your podcast for a long time, and I was thinking about, what do you say about the insecurity, like you have a percentage of like always being like a little
Yes.
insecure.
You need 90% security, but 10% insecurity in your relationship.
Okay, does that apply a little bit? Because I think there's like, well, being okay with that is, I think, an important part of a
Yes.
relationship. Like you have to just know there's always a maybe. Like you're never going to know for sure.
Never.
We've heard all of the stories and then 10 more.
Right.
But like Mackenzie said, you're okay with it a little bit, but also, yeah, just knowing that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you know
You
who
could
you
live with-
marry, you know
Yeah.
who you sleep next to every night for the most part. And then there's the stories that you guys come across, which are obviously horrifying. But I like to think the best in most people.
I definitely do. And we've also heard stories of people who have like gotten through stuff, and it happens. I think if somebody's open to couples therapy or conversation about like anything transparent, there's a chance they're just a narcissist that wants to hear themselves talk. But you would maybe just like do a little research on that and look at the signs. Like I think we just have to, listening to stuff like your podcast, like just helps you remember, like, what are my standards? What are my flags? And then sticking to them and trusting yourself.
Yeah, stay
And,
alert.
There's one word that comes to mind to answer two of your questions. How do you know someone's cheating? How do you know they're not cheating? I think the answer to both of those is consistency. When there's a consistency, there's no, like, when there's a little bit of shaking and you're like, well, because I'm someone who, I can't remember crap. I can't remember what I had for lunch today, but I can remember that, like, 2 years ago on a Thursday at 5 p.m., you told me that we would get Skittles like for snack today. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things where if you say something that doesn't line up with something you've said before, I will never remember you said that thing until you say something that contradicts it. And then I'll know, and I'll be like, wait. That's not what you said. So I feel like consistency, if they are so consistent, you're probably fine. But if there's like inconsistencies all over the place.
I agree with that. Yeah. Someone actually asked, my boyfriend of 1 year pulls back due to life stress and ghosts me. Should I hire a PI? No, you should just never speak to him again.
Ghosting after
he ghosted you. You don't even have the chance to speak to him again.
Yeah, you're done.
But I understand why people who get ghosted want to hire a PI, because that's so, like, they have no closure.
You're like, what if they're dead? I need to.
Right.
Sure,
and it's like, they're not. They probably are just not into you anymore or started dating someone else. There can't be that many more answers to that.
And sometimes
if they wanted to, they would.
More than a breakup.
Right, exactly. If they wanted to, they would. Okay, last question. This one is just really funny. Someone said, has the person who hired you ever ended up being the crazy one? I feel like they're always the crazy one.
Not always, but yes, often. There have been some people who hired me that, even though I do my best vetting and ask all the questions, they turn out to be the one that's like, woohoo, a little bit crazy.
What was the one? I'm just gonna say the cul-de-sac. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh my gosh, where the guy had a wife, he had a girlfriend next door, the girlfriend across the street, the one didn't know about the other, and the wife didn't know about any. It was a whole big thing. It was
the girl who hired Mackenzie to see if her wife was cheating with the neighbor was also sleeping with the other neighbor.
Oh my god.
It was
neighborhood.
wild.
Ooh, that sounds like that Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
funsies.
Yeah, you were like, oh,
that's really funny.
Fun street.
Okay, fine. One more. What Oh, okay. We kind of talked about how you almost got caught when you were doing an investigation. Have you ever actually gotten caught?
Oh, hundreds of times. I've gotten
They were
caught a
just like,
lot.
"Who are you? Why are you watching me?"
Yeah, sometimes. Or they'll flip you off, or they'll wave to you, or they'll smile and be like, "Hi," like really sarcastically, or they'll put a nail in your
Like
tire. It's fine.
the person
Do
you're
you
watching will do that.
Yeah.
The person you're supposed to be doing.
and then what do you do in response?
No, I'm not. I lie.
It's so funny.
I
That is
lie,
so
lie,
funny.
lie till I die. Lie, lie, lie. But when they know, they know. Like you can lie all day, but I'm still gonna deny it.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. Okay. This was so much fun. I loved this. I feel like I could continue all day. This is like my favorite subject is sleuthing.
Yeah.
So I think people will absolutely love this. Before we close out, Mackenzie, do you have a quote or piece of advice you could share with our listeners and then you, Hannah?
Oh man, I just listen. Like we say on the Dating Detectives, we like to say trust your femtuition, right? There's a reason that we are innately born with this gut instinct, and I will tell you, as a private investigator, I have honed it so well just because of like watching people and be like, "Yep, that tracks." People are creatures of habit, right? So if something is wrong, if something is too good to be true, it always is. And it might not be always, it might not be 100%, but if you just remember that it's always too good to be true, then those little times when it's not too good to be true and it actually is, then fine. But always be under the assumption that it is always too good to be true. It is too good to be true.
Yeah, agreed. Second that. Trust your femtuition. Louder for people in the back. But love is real. It's okay. It's going to be okay. It's hard. We hear a lot. And I was going to say, if you've been through something, like if you feel like you're in the dating world after a betrayal, after cheating, after, I don't know, they secretly stole your money, whatever it is that they did, they had an affair with your mom has happened on the show. It's terrible. The pattern I notice is that the survivors who come on are all incredible, smart, driven, wonderful people. They're not weak. They're not victims. They're not
They're
idiots.
not stupid. They feel
And
stupid,
people
but they're
feel
not.
so stupid. And anyone listening that's been through anything where they feel like they were betrayed, you're not stupid and you can move forward and just know that you're among a group of people that it's unfortunately common, but they have weirdly good taste, these assholes. Like
Yeah.
But
they
it's
do.
true
So you're
that
not the idiot. They are.
right. And it's true that
And
no
you
matter
don't have
how
to be ashamed.
no matter how good they look, no matter how much money they have, no matter anything, like it is anybody can be a dogfish, anybody can be a liar.
Yeah.
So,
And the
don't.
right person will understand your trauma and
Yes,
that
that's a good point,
and
Hannah.
be open to
Yeah,
talking
true.
about it with
I
you.
will say, just to push back a little bit, I don't
So,
think that I think that there is such thing as being with someone who you initially think is too good to be true. But I think you only really think they're
Yes.
too good to be true until you get to know each other and then you
That
realize they're
consistency
flawed like
though.
everyone else. But I don't think that if you're newly dating someone and you think they're too good to be true, that's always a red flag. I think like it can be, you can be like, wow, I can't believe I finally found someone really amazing. And it'll either work out and
Yeah.
you'll find out they're not as amazing, but you still really love them because no one's perfect. Or you'll find out, yep, they were married, but it's so
Yep.
like both can
But I
happen.
guess,
And, yeah, go.
but I guess that's what I guess that's what I meant to say was that always be under the assumption that it's too good to be true, so that you always have a little bit of that guard up. Like always assume this is not real,
Yeah.
like this is too good to be true. And if you have that assumption, have a little bit of that guard until they show that consistency, and then you little by little you'll start to see, okay, they're. So,
Yeah,
but I
they're
think you have a
real
really good
I
point.
agree.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah, if you feel like you
Slow
should,
down.
pump the brakes.
If
Don't
they're
let them be the one to pump the brakes.
Yeah,
Right.
Because then you're already screwed.
if it's right,
Mhm.
then what's the rush? I mean, I
Yeah.
understand there's rush, especially for women, but like you're going to be together forever, maybe.
Yeah,
So what's
totally.
what's an extra month waiting before you move in? Like,
Yeah,
do
yeah,
what-
yeah.
If you're not sure, then don't. force it.
Totally. I love that. Where can everyone find you guys, follow you, and listen to the Dating Detectives?
Our
At
Instagram is
Dating Detectives.
Dating Detectives Podcast, and on Instagram and TikTok, and on Facebook too. And then what's Hannah's going to share our email address if you want to
Yeah, we
share your
haven't-
email.
I got it. This is my like biggest job, remembering the email. If you have a story or know someone who has a story, and we love, like, obviously, if you don't want to share, you don't have to. But a lot of the people that come on it like helps so many people to hear these stories. So if something has happened to you in the betrayal relationship space, I can give an example. My producer, the voice of God, was like, give us a producer. If you have been with someone who had a secret family, we've had a lot of cases where people say they are in the military or in maybe the CIA. And that's why they're really busy at work, but they are none of those things, which is also just so messed up to lie about having military experience. And then like, that's horrible. We've had some people who were roped into OnlyFans, I'll say trafficking. Like it was a lot of grooming and manipulation and abuse. And what else? I mean, we've had so much. Like
those are good examples.
Yeah. Oh, a yoga instructor kind of used their guru mystic leadership to really manipulate a woman, which is like, that sucks because you're so cold.
So where do they send their stories?
Thank you. Back on track. Investigate at thedatingdetectivespodcast.com. That's our email. Send it to us. We want to hear it and hopefully learn from it and help you.
Thank you so much for having us on your podcast.
This is so fun.
We love you.
Thank you.